Hey guys, Bradley here. I am super excited to bring you this video. So I'm going to jump right into it. I was talking about getting rich in real estate, and I promised this to you guys yesterday, and here it is. There's a lot of things happen out of this foreign buyer's tax, but there's one thing I want to highlight in particular that's really a massive opportunity for any of you that want to make it big in the real estate game. Now, I just want to start with a market update that I haven't really touched on. We talk about condos downtown Toronto. I don't know if you guys know this, but the condos are alive and well. They're still growing like they were prior to the provincial legislation change. That said, obviously there's this huge balance beam that's we're kind of standing on here. Now the lower end, the condo apartments that are cheaper, they're selling more. Okay, and then we've got these low rise that are selling a bit less. So if you were to take an average of what's actually selling, the purchase prices is down. So this is in a lot of ways why we see a lower selling price, more so the activity that's going on than the actual real estate prices. So it's an important note. But I want to get into how to get rich in this business, and we're going to talk about specifically rent control. Okay, and I want to pose a question to you guys. Do you think that rent control is necessary? Do you think it's something we have to have? Is it good for the government to intervene and have that in place? If you think yes, then I want you to put a wow face. I want you to give me one of those like, ooh, you know. If you think not, I want to see a sad face. Give me one of those no with the tears. All right, and then leave your comments. Tell me why you think that. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Obviously, there's two sides to the argument. But it's interesting because it came out of a conversation that I had with a client of mine last week. We were talking about, he was wanting to invest in rental properties. But he heard about this rent control and that it's designed to help the tenant. And so we sat back and he's like, well, then how is that good? You know, we talked as far as the provincial government. They announced last year, 2016, they published a document that said 120,000 people own at least 2 units, which means that at a bare minimum, we have about 100 rental properties that's sustained just by local investors, just by people who live in Toronto, in surrounding communities. So with that said, now all these people are, because of all the craziness going on and the cooling of the market, and they're investors, if there's any sense of fear, they're dumping these units, even those that are rental properties, and they're flooding the market. They're coming in quickly. So over the next year, the next 5 years specifically, we're going to have a decrease in the number of rental properties just by those local investors. But now we can talk about rent control, because on top of all of this, there's been certain limits the government has set on these local investors, right? So they're talking about, before the announcement, I don't know if you guys know this, before the announcement, there was a lot of help coming. There's a lot of help on the way because we had a bunch of builders that were building specific apartment buildings designed for rentals. So it hasn't been done in a long time, but they're just starting to get to a point where they're seeing the cash flow. They've got enough that they could do it. Now they need at least 3.5% to 4% in order to pay for things like their financing and to buy the land to be profitable. But because the government has now set a rent control of 2.5%, it's not worthwhile. It's not worth their time anymore to build these, and they're like, forget it. We're just going to go back to doing condos and let these local investors do the rest and pick up the heavy weight. So there's no influx of supply coming that we've really, really needed in the last few years. So you've got this kind of combination of a decrease in current rentals, no longer an coming in of rental apartments, and of course we've got a migration of renters that have been displaced from their home that are looking for places to live. So it doesn't take long to find out that rent is going to go up like crazy, even as early as a year from now. So it's funny, what was originally intended to help the tenant on paper as far as the government move is really done the complete opposite. So here's the opportunity. So this video promises to give you tips on how to get rich. This is the massive opportunity. So we've got affordable rental properties like we haven't seen for over a year that are available in the market, right? We've also got an opportunity of cash flow to be increased. Not many people know this, by the way. I'm giving pretty intense information here. That's why you guys are at least informed to make a decision. We're going to see rent increase. It's going to happen. And so cash flow is going to increase. Okay, so there's a massive opportunity there. And if you fear, okay, well, rent control, then I can't increase the rent. It doesn't work like that. As soon as there's a turnover in the tenants, the rent control is simply for people who are currently at that address. As soon as they leave and we change, you're now able to, without limit, increase that rent to get back on the market level. So if you pick the right tenant, the cash flow is not really an issue for the landlord. And so that's the opportunity. the fear that I have for some of you is I want you to at least be aware of what the impact is going to be for the renter. Okay, if you think it's challenging now and you think the rents are increasing too much, it's nothing. It's going to go up more. You're just not going to see it done in the newspaper where it's happened overnight and one person that was staying in their home. Instead, it's going to happen out in the real world where people are out looking and they're like, holy smokes, everything's going crazy, right? So my opportunity is my proposal to you guys that are renting is just look at it from a 5-year perspective, okay? In 5 years, rents are going to be up. That's a fact, okay? So let's just even take a conservative approach and say that over the next 5 years, your property values don't even increase, okay? Like obviously if you're investing in real estate, you're anticipating an increase, but I'm going to go a step further and say with a dip or whatever, in the next 5 years, they're going to stay exactly where they are now. At a minimum, for those of you who are in a situation beyond, if you're able to and you choose to rent, just be aware you're missing an opportunity to pay down that mortgage, okay? Even with flat rent or flat rates as far as the property, you're still paying down your own mortgage instead of giving it to someone else. And at the same time, you're curbing what's coming for the renter. So I just hope, I don't know if you guys can see I'm passionate because I think this is just incredible. I didn't process it until I was speaking to these clients, and it's just, I've wrapped my head around it. It just makes so much sense. I couldn't not bring this up as a topic. So I'm super excited to hear your comments. I want to hear, I know I've seen a couple here and I'll respond to them afterwards, but I'm going to post this as well on YouTube. So any of you on YouTube, add your comments. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm willing to listen to the counter arguments, but to me, it makes complete sense. And I hope this added some value. I'll check in with you guys next week. Make sure you enjoy your weekend. Love you guys. Take care. Keep it real.